Welcome to the Hemp and Sustainability panel discussion here at the Cannabis Sustainability Symposium. My name is Ben Gelt. I'm the board chair of the Certification Council. I'm very excited about this panel. We've got a strong lineup of growers and processors all in the hemp space, all distributed around the country. So I think going to be a lot of interesting different perspective, geographic, legal, etc. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Nicholas Huminski from High Falls Hemp in New York, and he's going to be our moderator. And that's all I got. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, panel. I'm out of here. And Nick, you're on mute, man.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. Good morning and afternoon, everybody. My name is Nicholas Huminski. I'm the head of business development and assistant head of farming operations for High Falls Hemp, New York, located in the Catskill region of New York State. I'd like to first thank everyone for joining us today to discuss hemp and sustainability. With us today is Travell Bradford, Austin Stevenson, and Langdon Brown. We have a lot to discuss, but first, gentlemen, will you please tell everyone about yourself? Travell, we'll start with you. Travell, can you hear us?
Good, huh?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and afternoon. I'm Travell Bradford, co-founder of Cannabis Health Equity Movement, founder of Mama Nature, which is an agronomic solutions and strategic management company in Oregon, and co-founder of Oregon Trail Farms here in Oregon. I've been growing cannabis for about 30 plus years. I've been growing hemp for the last 4 years. I love the plant. I'm excited to be here and excited to be a part of this.
Awesome. Thank you, Travell. Langdon, you're up next.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Langdon Brown. Greetings from New South Wales, Australia. It's about 10 to 5 in the morning. I'm very excited to be here, participating in this cannabis symposium. My history is I've been in the Australian medicinal and hemp industry for 7 years. I'm a licensed New South Wales hemp farmer and also have a medicinal cannabis license. And we are a vertically integrated company, being farmers, and we do extraction. We've done our first year extraction, and we also produce one hemp extraction, cosmetic product. And very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Langdon. I appreciate it. Austin, you're up.
Yeah, hey everybody. Thanks, Nicholas. Thanks, Ben, for having me. My name is Austin Stevenson. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Vertosa, where we focus on being the best delivery mechanism for cannabinoids. We're a horizontal company. We're not a cultivator. We're not an extractor, but instead we are a rapid onset formulator. So we take hemp oils and turn them into versatile and easy to infuse ingredients from everything from beverages to gummies, confections, and everything in between. I have been in the cannabis industry for over 5 years. Our home base is here in Oakland, California. We also have laboratory up in Canada. I have been involved with every part of the supply chain, from cultivation through extraction and even third-party analytical chemistry laboratories. Before Vertosa, I led the business unit for Eurofin Scientific hemp and CBD testing, where my clients were mainstream retailers like CVS and other retailers on really vetting and qualifying safety and stability and overall quality of hemp products. Tens of thousands of products I've seen. I've tested and or infused. So I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm really grateful to be here and part of the symposium to really help elevate the industry as a whole.
Thank you, Austin. Travell, there was a question for you. Can you just repeat the company you represent? Might be muted, Travell.
Can you hear me?
Now I can, thank you.
Oh.
Having difficulties again, Travell. Is everybody able to hear Travell clearly?
How's that? No?
Looking good, thank you.
Mercy. Okay, let's keep it moving. Like I said, I'm the co-founder of Kim, co-founder of Oregon Trail Farms, and founder of Mama Nature, which is consulting agronomic solutions.
All right, thank you, Travell. So let's get started with today. In 2014, changes in the U.S. hemp opened the doors for research and development in industrial hemp, and within a few years, many states have launched pilot programs. Those are followed up with the 2018 Farm Bill, which relabeled hemp as an agricultural product and not a controlled substance. Today's discussion will highlight the current status of hemp in the U.S., the future outlook, and a call for calibration in building a domestic sustainable supply chain. Let's start off with the current status of hemp, and perhaps your opinion on a new decision the U.S. Congress has implemented on September 30th, 2020, extending the hemp pilot program until September 1st, 2021. Austin, let's start with you.
Yeah, so, happy to weigh in here. Thanks, Nicholas. I think that some of the recent changes in the extension of the hemp pilot program is opening up opportunities for other states to, really start to engage and to continue to build out the supply chain in terms of both cultivation as well as extending opportunities for downstream supply chain manufacturers. I recall, being on Capitol Hill in Congress in 2018, lobbying for the original Farm Bill, and to see states come online, specifically, kind of in the region where I originally grew up, which was the Midwest in Missouri, to see surrounding states really embrace this product and start to cultivate, this crop only excites me and only motivates me to move forward. I do think that, we got to look at the overall landscape of the U.S. bureaucratic system and, identify, who is helping push forward and gain momentum in terms of bureaucratic agencies. So you see the U.S. Departments of Agriculture and state departments of agriculture really embracing hemp and pushing the agenda forward to cultivate. However, you see other bureaucratic agencies like the FDA, DEA, slowing down a little bit of progress. And so you kind of take the good with the bad. And I feel like based on the more recent legislations in September, kind of extending the program to continue to evaluate, it's a positive direction, but it does, in my opinion, kind of slow down some of the momentum that a lot of us in the industry were really excited about for this year. But I guess that's kind of been the nature of 2020 and a lot of things slowing down. But I'm still absolutely bullish and only excited by the progress that companies like our own and those on this panel and others are continuing to invest in hemp and invest and take this time to invest in research and to invest in looking at other cannabinoids that are now cultivated by the hemp plant. And so as more and more states come online, that means more and more cultivators, that means more and more brilliant minds that are curious and trying, new techniques, designing and creating new genetics, and I get very excited about what all that means for the future of the hemp industry.
Thank you, Austin. Langdon, I know you're down under, but you might have an opinion on what's going on here.
Definitely. Australia and the US have a very unique relationship and a very important relationship where we see you guys as almost an older brother and rely on the US for leadership. And we have a very close bond and relationship with the US. So Australia is watching what's happening in the US very closely, and there is a lot of momentum in Australia regarding hemp. For example, my hemp license was approved about 1 month ago after a 4-year process. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to have this privilege to have a New South Wales hemp license. And since then, I've been able to acquire a medicinal cannabis license through the altruistic work I did for some years helping my country. So my hemp license number was licensed for this state of New South Wales is number 66,345. My mentor, who got his license 7 years ago, was license number 49. So there is a massive, that doesn't mean that all those people are actively growing hemp, but what it means is those people are waiting in the lines for us to get some processing facilities down under, and people are very keen and interested to support the hemp industry in Australia. So we look to the US with much interest and support, and wish the very best for hemp progress in the US. Thank you.
Thank you, Langdon. That was very interesting. Travell, you're up. I believe we're still dealing with some technical issues with Travell.
Still technical?
Still going in and out.
Okay. I apologize.
Hearing you loud and clear. Do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I'm happy about, you know, the development and the progress with the industry here in the United States. There's still a long way to go with certain extensions being made. It's making it tough for smaller farmers to really get in and get their feet established when we don't have the support and the leadership from the government agencies. You know, it's a catch-22. I think right now what's really happening is we're allowing a lot of people an opportunity to do R&D, but yet at the same time, that R&D is costing a lot of the small farmers. Almost all we have more processing to clear up the bottleneck in that area. I think the industry will really explode here in the United States. I'm excited for the opportunity that it afforded me as a black farmer because I touch the plant from the field to the lab all the way to the end product. And it's very important that we create those vehicles in order to sustain. Otherwise, we're just creating too much waste if we don't have an opportunity to process material. There was a lot of material last year, you know, that just was left wasted in the ground. But I'm excited that many people are still pushing through, that people are starting to come around, and the momentum is there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Travella. I appreciate it. And then next up would be sustainability is a new study on how natural systems function and remain diverse to produce everything it needs for the ecology to remain in balance. I'd like to briefly highlight diversity for a moment. Equity and equality are becoming more of a talking point throughout the legalization for not only industrial hemp, but the whole genius that is cannabis sativa L, not only in my home state of New York, but on a national basis. What actions do you gentlemen believe companies and politicians should take to allow the easier access to the communities affected by the war on drugs so they can have an equal opportunity to be included in this industry? Travell, let's start with you.
Well, the history of this plant goes back, and I won't go back to the relationship with slavery, but as we look at it now, we have a plant that was weaponized against individuals of color. And what we need and want to do is acetization of this particular plant. So when other farmers that look like me know that it's possible, it's encouraging and motivating. But what we need to have is more complex integration. So farmers have access and inclusion that don't look like the status quo of farmers here in America, and really begin to educate and create platforms. So my company, Oregon Trail Farms, we also have reentry and transitional programs for people transitioning back in the community and want to, start careers in the farming industry. So providing those opportunities. Also through Oregon Trail Farms, we provide restorative justice resources to really educate people entering back in the community that want to be farmers and try their hand at this and not have to worry about all of the legalities. The other part is my family, we've been farming for a while, and my daughter's native. So when I see the dynamics between farmers of color, indigenous farmers, I recognize that right now the playing field isn't level, and there's a lot of arduous mountains to overcome. But I truly believe with complex integration, establishing relationships, and also creating future programs so new farmers, small farms can begin to properly have those SOPs in place and begin to grow genetics that they can sell and make a living. So that's my position: more access, more inclusion, more being done by the federal government to really look at this plant different. I see cannabis, the way I look at this plant, I believe we can make everything from it, from, building products, treadmills, medicines. It's limitless. But without innovation, without, people really pushing the bar on R&D and getting out in front of technology and the development of the industry, otherwise we're just going to have farmers planting material, no dequalification, no processing, and there'll be a few people getting rich and a whole lot of other people really not even having an opportunity to develop the brands.
Thank you, Travell. Very insightful. Austin, you're up next.
Yeah, I think, Travell mentioned some very appropriate call outs that, this industry is at its beginning in terms of a regulated space. However, the plant and the crop have been cultivated for centuries. And so here in the US, because of stigmatization, because of regulation that has very much, as Travell quite adequately put it, weaponized against minorities of color, we're in a position now to really right a lot of the wrongs. And that's why I truly believe, as a person of color, as a Black male in this industry, I feel that it's necessary to lead by example. And leading by example when it comes to diversity always starts with kind of a public service announcement that, especially in this year, with all things going on in the social, our social culture, also social fabric here in the US, I think it's important to underscore that diversity is not a solution. It's an outcome. It's an outcome of companies and individuals being intentful and conscious of the actions that they're taking every single day. You know, it's being conscious of looking at your organization and looking at the table around you, and first asking, well, who's at the table? But more than that, who's missing from the table and why? And then when you look at the folks that are at the table, you have to ask yourself, well, is everyone here having an equitable experience? You know, and that goes beyond just the color of anyone's skin. You know, that's age, that's race, that's gender, that's experience. And so it becomes critical that in any organization that everyone's voice is heard, and you create a more equitable, fair experience to ensure that folks are comfortable in their work environment. And that's the opportunity that we have in this industry, is that we're literally building an industry. No one has the right answer. You know, I've seen, again, the good, bad, and ugly of many different companies on both the hemp side and the cannabis side. And, you know, there are very opportunistic capitalists that, you know, are looking to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's, you know, the crop, we as a country have always, you know, made, you know, money off of agriculture. But, you know, making or creating opportunities to make money for others becomes kind of the value that can be created. And so how do you do that? It's you know, intentful hiring, making sure that the people around the table look and feel like the industry. You know, it's being conscious of the experience that folks are having at the table. Okay, once you have folks that are from all different walks of life and really bringing a lot of value from diverse experiences to the table, ensuring that everyone feels safe and comfortable to express themselves and to, you know, make sure their opinions are heard and treated equally across the board. And so that's something that we do here at our company at Vertosa, is that we made it an intention to hire and create the best place to work in cannabis. And I'm very proud to say that, you know, our lean mean team, a little over 20 people, half women. So we achieved, you know, gender equality or neutrality, and half women, half men. When you look at, you know, a picture of all of the team, it looks like a big beige wall because it's every color, creed, and kind from, you know, every age, from, you know, millennials through boomers. And, you know, we always make sure to create space in a forum to ensure that everyone's voices are heard equally. And so it's just that intent to create a company and a culture that helps lead by example to hopefully influence other companies that are building to follow in that same direction. I think we have a great opportunity in hemp and cannabis as a whole, because we are creating products that are derived from the earth, that are the plant, that are intended to heal, to help reduce some of the stress and the pain that 2020 has faced. We have technology today that helps facilitate, you know, efficacy. That's what we work on Vertosa, is making sure that you can feel the experience of cannabinoids. And so therefore, it just becomes our responsibility as operators and consumers alike to hold each other accountable for ensuring that they're going through the process of being more inclusive by defining who and making sure that everyone is at the table, by being more equitable, by ensuring that once they're at the table, everyone has a voice, and ultimately leading to a more diverse community. But it is a process, and everyone's got to buy into that process and want that process.
Thank you, Austin. I appreciate it. Langdon, you're up next, and then we have a question that popped up.
Excellent. That was a fantastic presentation by Austin. And I myself, my history is I had 2 criminal cases where I was facing a minimum 35 years in jail for providing medicinal cannabis altruistically to the Australian people. Previously, before that, I had a clean national police record. I think it's inexcusable that people that I know, my brothers and sisters who have helped me grow this plant over the last 7 years, are in Australian private prisons now. I think the politicians should lead and let any non-violent cannabis incarcerated men and women out so they can participate in this industry. I know many people who are in jail for growing medicine to help themselves. I got involved in this 7 years ago because my wife had breast cancer. I left a high-paying job at Australia's first bank, Westpac, where I managed people's wealth for over 10 years in Australia and Japan. It was my honour to help my wife and my responsibility, and she's cancer-free now. And my herbalist, who is 62 years of age, who I want to run my cannabis farm, why? Because he has 35 years experience, but he's currently in front of the courts now for growing the plant. And he hasn't been able to work for the last 15 years because he's been growing this plant. But his importance and knowledge is so important to me that I've written a letter to the court asking for his charges to be dismissed and all his previous cannabis convictions so he can come at 62 years of age and lead my farm. I believe in including all the people who are the experts and pioneers in the Australian cannabis industry, and I will be targeting them for employment. My chief herbalist son is altruistic, and I really look forward to him working on the farm. And other people that I know, a very good friend of mine who had a motorcycle accident with traumatic brain injury, he absolutely loves this plant. And rather than being in a nursing home, he hopes to come and work with us on a farm and take care of this plant for his healing. So I believe everyone should be involved in this industry, and my partner with the medicinal cannabis license is an Indigenous lady. And I believe that this is a great opportunity to help the Indigenous people of our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Langdon. And then the question that we have is to all of you: what is going to take for hemp products / raw materials to take off and scale as much as other raw materials that are currently used, petrol, cotton, etc.?
Okay, I'll chime in. One of the things it's going to take is having processes in place to take the plant from the raw material into value-added materials so we can attack those markets, whether it's industrial use or whether it's for food and beverages. Also, we're going to have some standardization in genetics. And I say that because with all the different microclimates, we can all grow the same genetics, but be in different microclimates and come out with different results. Even if that happens, having both extraction as well as decortication processes in place to still work with material, but then also having waste management practices so nothing is wasted, whether that plant is being reintroduced back into the field as organic matter, whether smaller farms are partnering together to enter into the supply chain. Without having those processes, especially the decortication component, many farmers, again, I hate to say it, this year, 2020, are going to have crops that aren't going to get processed properly. And you know, we're going to be stuck with resources that are still out in the field. But really focusing on innovation in the decortication side of it. So if a farmer does plant some material and you have a disaster where you have to harvest, sooner than recommended, you still can have that material processed and there's no value lost. So by having complex integration in place and relationships with different companies that can use the material at any stage of the plant life, that's really going to help sustain this industry, as well as training and providing opportunities for young people that may not know they can have a career in cannabis, which will open up a doorway of opportunities for so many more people and really help push this industry into, into the future and beyond.
Hit the nail on the head with that one, Travell. Langdon, Austin, would you like to add your opinion?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Back in May, June, I cold called 80 federal politicians and contacted them via phone and email regarding a possible hemp fiber decorticating facility. I got responses from only 3 of them. And their responses were all, is this going to be in our electorate? So my local politician also contacted the federal minister for the environment and detailed my interest of a fibre processing facility in this area, and the response was negative. There's no room for funding. Therefore, I believe the responsibility is mine to grow this industry. And on the 5th of November at the Regent Theatre in Wollumba, the local cinema will screen The Hemp Solution. And it has capacity for 70 people, and we will advertise it in the local newspaper, and we'll have a Q&A and an introduction. And I will bring sign-up forms where farmers interested in growing hemp can apply to grow under my license. My opening line, I used to be a senior financial planner. As I mentioned, my opening line will be, sugar pays farmers 20 cents a kilogram. I can pay farmers $100 a kilogram. Then I will explain that hemp sequests 4 times the CO2 of trees, and 1 ton of hemp sequests 1.63 tons of CO2. So I believe over the last year, we did a test pilot where my friend, who's a farmer, grew half an acre of hemp for CBD oil and was paid $80,000. This year, I saw him last week. This year, he plans to grow 4,000 acres of hemp. That's how we grow the hemp industry, ladies and gentlemen. We pay the farmers well. He's not only growing for CBD oil this year, though. He wants to grow for seed. He wants to grow for fibre. We don't have any fibre processing plants, but he wants to build his own hempcrete house. So I believe it's after we've done this screening night, I will go to the next town and set up a hemp movie night all around this region and collect an army of farmers, and together we will build the hemp industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Langdon. Austin, do you want to briefly mention on that? We have 3 more questions that just came in as well.
Yeah, I can. I mean, the original question, if you can repeat it just for the audience, Nicholas, that would be helpful.
Let me unmute myself here. So the original question is, what is going to take for hemp products as raw materials to take off and scale as much as other raw materials that are currently in use, petrol, cotton, etc.?
Cool. Yeah, in terms of getting widespread adoption, I think that you got to look at the industry specifically and what you're trying to provide this product for. I think that as an agricultural product, a raw agricultural product, as Travell and Langdon both mentioned, it really requires the farm level being able to grow larger cultivations and ensuring that cultivators are adequately compensated, as well as the farms themselves are built in a sustainable way that allows for more massive production to address markets like building materials or other raw materials like fabrics and cottons and thread. I think that when you look at downstream, somewhere where we focus our attention at Vertosa is in the food and supplement space. And Travell was mentioning the requirement of technology to help make a consistent, reliable, and stable ingredient. And so for us to get to a place where hemp is like sugar as an ingredient in either the food or supplement space, it does require technology, and it requires cultivators being able to grow a more consistent crops, because we know, and also be able to really dial in cannabinoid ratios, because we know that like any other agricultural crop, one season to the next season, or even, cultivation plots of land, one plot to another plot, or different genetics are going to yield different cannabinoids. And so the ability of the technologies that are able to extract cannabinoids and create a more consistent derivative product like an extraction and have a cannabinoid profile that is more consistent lends itself really well to companies like myself who take those oils and turn them into stable ingredients like powders, like emulsions that you can put in beverages and supplements, like capsules and pills and the likes thereof. And so basically what you're doing through a technology perspective is creating consistency and reliability across the supply chain. You're taking a raw agricultural product and then you're extracting it into an oil to get a little bit more consistent, to really refine the ratio of oils. And then you're taking through one more process to turn that oil into a stable ingredient for like a water product or a supplement. And that process right there, I get really excited because, we're focused on pharma grade, food grade type of conversion methods that have no waste. Maybe, the waste that any waste is whatever gets stuck on the side of the jar for taking the oil out of the jar, but even that, it can be mitigated in the way that you rinse and ultimately, take extracted materials and convert them into finished ingredients. So the time is now, and it's here. The technology is here. Now it's going to take some institutional support to help push us over that hurdle. It's going to take here in the U.S. the FDA to, provide some clarity. It's going to take, continuation of these state programs to continue to allow cultivators to cultivate this crop, research this crop, and apply technologies that are going to create more consistency in both the raw agricultural product, but also in the derivative byproducts where technology is applied.
Thank you, Austin. Moving forward, we do have more questions I'm going to quickly go through. This person lives in Colorado and is a member of the state marijuana licensing work group. The process of discussion is long. Regulation is a process. How can we get minorities involved in being owners faster, knowing that costs and fees slow us down?
Well, that's a great question. I'll chime in real quick. One of our focuses with Campus Health Equity Movement, is opening up and bridging the gap for access. And I think if the industry as a whole is focused on 4 pillars: health equity, environmental equity, social equity, and economic equity, with these four pillars across the board, it will provide access, it will provide synergy, it will allow for networking and development. And what it will do is create an ecosystem that has complex integration involved, providing access. So if we continue with the industry as a whole, I did mention the component that this plant, turned my life upside down on the legal side, and I was fortunate enough to just press through. So I understand the hurdles for people who may not have the resources, who may not have the know-how or the access to someone who does. What we do with Kim is provide that education, provide those networking opportunities to introduce people wherever you're located. So for the person in Colorado, as well as the person in Mississippi, to Klamath Falls, Oregon, it doesn't matter what color, what gender, what you believe. If you want to grow this plant and you have a passion for it, you have access because you're a part of the ecosystem that's trying to improve. Langdon says something that was just brilliant. When we remove our carbon footprint and have an ability to do that, we're changing the earth and making it better for all of us. If this plant is not about total healing, then we're fooling ourselves, okay, and selling snake oil. But it's about complete healing. So in order for everyone to have access, there has to be healing on a health equity. There has to be healing environmental equity. There has to be healing socially with equity and economic equity so that everyone has a fair shake at the table.
Yeah, and I think, Travell, that's a great point. And, I think the question was raised by Ken Allison over at Colorado. I've had the good fortune of working in Colorado as well, with my time at Eurofins and my time at Accelerator Fund, Canopy. And, something that we're doing here in California and that I've seen done well in terms of creating a more inclusive environment, knowing that the challenge or the assumption that the challenge and assumption that was made, which is valid from Ken, is that we know that licensing and fees can slow the process down and create barriers to entry. So one step is to, number one, ensure that those license and fees are reasonable, compared to the industry. We have seen in too many states, those licensing and fees cost structure, total up to 6 figures and above, and that's just ridiculous. It's not necessary. That is a clear and blatant, measure to ensure that only those that can afford to play can play. So, really analyzing and looking at what the cost and fee structure and it doesn't match and is it reasonable for the market. Hemp is very different than cannabis, right? In terms of, or marijuana, depending on the nomenclature that you're using. But license and fee structures has to match the crop in which folks are cultivating. It has to match the market. Now, once you have license and fee structures in place, you're still going to have those that can afford it and those that cannot afford it, regardless of their race. And so the assumption that minorities can't afford license and fee structure, and it shouldn't be that case. It should be anybody that's the has versus have not to be able to pay to play. But the way that you mitigate that is that you issue state-funded grants or locally funded grants. That's something that we've done here in Oakland, California, on the cannabis side, is that we have equity grants, where we are ensuring that money is given specifically to minorities to accommodate these licenses and fees. And so you go through a vetting process and you submit an application, but ultimately the fees and associated costs are subsidized by state issued grants. And that money is generated by tax revenues from the crop itself. So it's creating that sustainable circle of saying, okay, if the state's going to tax this crop, then those portion of those tax revenues should go back and directly invest into getting a more inclusive supply chain. And so that ultimately is kind of illustrating that process of diversity and inclusion. Again, diversity is not an outcome. It is a process and inputs that you provide. So if you're going to tax something, take that revenue, have a portion of that revenue be directed to state provided or local provided grants that are earmarked for minority applicants to subsidize the licensing and fee costs that are associated with getting and starting a hemp or cannabis business.
Thank you, Austin. I do have a few questions, but I would like to continue because we only have about 9 minutes left for our panel. I would like to talk about sustainability. Sustainability focuses on meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future. What do you gentlemen believe farmers, extractors, and even retailers should implement today to assure the future of the industrial hemp industry? And then Austin, if we would like to start with you.
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, you know, what do we do to ensure sustainability of the hemp industry? Well, number one, we hold each other accountable. You mentioned it earlier, Nicholas, there's a lot of snake oil on the market. And so I think that in my prior role at Eurofin Scientific and really in analytical chemistry and studying all these products, I have seen a lot of good, bad, and the ugly. And there's been many times where I just wanted to say, oh my gosh, that's at a retailer, someone's buying that and putting that in their body. Oh no, that's terrible. So it requires us holding ourselves accountable and creating a more structured quality programs that are consistent state to state, so that we are ensuring the quality of the product from cultivation through extraction, through manufacturing, and ultimately retail. And so, encouraging states to, when they build their quality program, to include third-party audits in that program to ensure that the cultivators are practicing sustainable cultivation techniques, are getting and supported by certification authorities, like the few and the handful of cultivators that have gotten organic certified. But then following up with state departments of agency and third-party contractors to audit cultivation techniques, extraction techniques, ensuring that not only do you have, ensuring whatever the state code or local code is for your extraction site, but then adding more. Are you certified GMP? Are you NSF? Are you SQF? Those certifications only provide higher quality. We see that in other industries like botanical extracts, like food and supplements. So as the product moves from a raw agricultural good and goes to from cultivation through extraction and manufacturing, the ability to ensure that we are a sustainable industry is getting rid of all the junk by putting in processes that ensure high quality products. Something I like here in the cannabis industry in California is that I know that the product at the retailer, at any retailer here in California, is probably cleaner and better than most of the supplements that are at the 7-Eleven down the street. And that's only because of super high bar that is set on contaminants in these products. And so I really just think that at the start, it's almost like the table stakes are just raise the bar on quality, hold each other accountable, put in certifications and measures across the supply chain that are going to, again, yield a consistent product.
Thank you, Austin. We just got our 5-minute mark. Langdon, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, definitely. Having GMP products is extremely important because you're making medicine. I think the responsibility for the sustainability of the industry is to make sure the farmers are paid well. It's up to people like myself to promote the hemp industry and to create these ongoing relationships. I spent 17 years in Japan, where I learned a culture of building mutually beneficial relationships that are long-term. where all parties are able to benefit financially, is the way future in this industry. Last week, I drove past an organic farm and I pulled over my car and I spoke with the farmer and asked him how much he was getting for his organic tomatoes, and he said $1 a kilogram. I told him he could possibly grow hemp for $100 a kilogram. Would he be interested? And he filled in an application form. So I will go around this region of Australia with my sign-up forms and my information and drop in on farms that I believe could pass this GMP certification, or organic farms, grow this industry, like our test pilot last year, who was paid very well on half an acre and is growing 4,000 acres this year. This is how I plan to have a sustainable hemp industry in Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Langdon. Travell, we have 3 minutes left. Would you like to add your 2 cents?
What both Langdon and Austin so eloquently laid out. One, pay your farmers, pay the growers, okay? Growers that are going to do things the right way. Have that standard set. And two, really look at building those relationships, as Langdon said. It's about complex integration and networking and working together. So as a farmer, you know, if I'm working with a broker and I know this broker is just trying to get the top dollar for his commission, there is really little that he cares about the farmer. If it's not right from the soil, it's not going to be right in the retail store. So just remember, no matter how many different steps of process you put on the plant. The other thing is you need to champion all the business processes that are involved, from cultivation to drying, extraction, and manufacturing. Have great business processes in place, so if something bottlenecks, we can improve on it instantly rather than having to reach.
Thank you, Travell. And since we have 2 minutes, I would like to try to get this question answered. Would you see any opportunity in growing hemp use for food, construction material, oils, etc. in greenhouses? Not speaking about hemp for CBD.
In greenhouse, if you have the budget, you control the environment, you have year-round opportunity to grow, especially in regions where it gets cold fast, or even in regions where you have humidity issues. If you can control the environment and you have the budget for all the greenhouses, absolutely.
Thank you, Travell. 1 more minute left. I would like to thank you guys for all being here, participants and panelists alike. This concludes the end of our panel, and I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope you stick around for the next panel, Let's Talk Trash, which I am excited about.
Hey, Nicholas, thank you so much. And Austin, and Travell, and Langdon, you guys were fascinating. Great, robust conversation, and really appreciate it. We are coming up on the conclusion of our day. The last session here will just be the closer, and we'll be sharing some information from Fluence. So really, thank you guys again, Austin, Nicholas, Travell, Langdon. Really wonderful conversation. This, of course, has been recorded, so we will be putting this out in the next couple of weeks for all attendees and subscribers, and also working with some of our media partners on a plan to drip out all this content over the course of next year to promote for our event next year, which I hope we can get you all to come back and participate in, whether it's virtual like this, or maybe we'll be able to get together in person. I don't know if we'll be breathing on strangers next calendar year. We're going to find out. You guys, thank you so much. Really, it's always such a privilege for me to be in the position that I'm in, to get to connect with so many different people And I feel that privilege, and I try to make the best out of it. And frankly, listening to you guys talk and share, I think I'm doing all right. We can always do better. So again, thank you all so much. Austin, gonna put you out here. He's getting married, people. So for the ladies in the audience, sorry. And or for any other takers, he's a handsome man. But congratulations. And yeah, man, have fun. Stop working. I'm sure she's a very lovely lady, and patient, but don't test her patience, man. Get out of here.
Thank you, Ben. She, my fiance and wife in 24 hours is absolutely amazing, and I'm grateful to all the support she's given me over the last 5.5 years, helping to contribute to this industry. And I'm also just grateful to you and all the other panelists for the time, insights, and really excited about what we can all accomplish by working together. So thank you, Ben, for creating this platform and this forum for us to advocate. And I'm just very excited for the future and all that's yet to come.
Thanks. We recorded.
Thank you.
Val, stay strong, man. Thank you so much for joining. Nicholas, thank you also for moderating. And Langdon, man, thank you for coming from so far away. From the future, folks, and a little bit of the past too, because of where they are in the law. Just a total time traveling experience. So, come back to us. We'll be starting the last session at about 10 to the top of the hour. So, stretch your legs, walk around, get some fresh air. I see Travell's already got some, so get with him. Catch up, folks. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.